All right. The Town Council public meeting for October 4th, 2022, 7 p.m. Pledge of Allegiance. And then a moment of silence. Please remember Bob Carnahan in your prayers tonight. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call.
Robert Carnahan is absent. John Foreman.
Yes.
Julia Rivera. Here. Ralph Miller.
Present.
Colleen Sheehan. Here. Richard Sharp.
Here.
Randy Meyer.
Present.
I am present. Chris Salatis.
Present.
David Austin.
Present.
We have a quorum. We'll start tonight with an announcement. Town Manager Salatis.
We have a new planning director who is not new to the town, thankfully. Ashley Abernathy, who's been working in the building department now since she started, I believe, and will assume the role.
Awesome.
Congratulations.
Great. Thanks,
I'll talk to Bill to get her.
I thought you were going to say your announcement is Taco Tuesday.
For those of you that don't know Ashley, she has done just about a little bit of everything since she started here with the town. A general utility person and probably one of the most chronic studiers of policy and code of anybody I've ever seen. And even when she didn't have to study it, she did. She's got this thirst for knowledge, and I'm confident that Ashley will grow into this position of planning director into being an outstanding leader in the community. So I have a lot of confidence in you, Ashley, and look forward to seeing you grow into this position.
Thank you, sir, and thank you for the opportunity.
You're welcome. All right, next we have a public hearing is ordinance 1432. That's a correction. It says 1423 on your agendas. The record should show 1432, which is the year 2023 budget, first reading, review of legals.
Council Form 3 was noticed on the Gateway on October 4th. Or not October 4th, I'm sorry, that's the day I printed it, 50. We have our 10-day notice. I'm sorry, I was looking at the wrong. I swore I submitted it with 10-day notice.
Legals are in order. Opening remarks. Madam Clerk Treasurer.
I'm actually going to flip this one over to Corby. If Corby wants to take over, he's on Zoom with us since he gave us the excellent presentation last week.
Mr. Thompson.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Corby.
Yep. So I didn't necessarily have a presentation together for tonight, but maybe we could just touch on kind of the big key updates and kind of the process that we've been through here. But as Jen mentioned, we had the public notice go out in the middle of September for this public hearing. So all the public should be aware of kind of where we're at with the budget as far as we're levying. And then last week we had a meeting to kind of introduce the budget. The PowerPoint presentation is available on the website, but that's kind of a really that's a good comprehensive look of kind of the updates to the budget in comparison to 2022. And then, yeah, this is the public hearing. The major updates to the budget would just be the implementation of the Park District. So that was quite the update to the budget. We have a new department essentially within the general fund where we have a $1 million budget and a corresponding $1 million levy to fund that budget. In addition to that, we have the public safety facilities that service levy in the budget. We still aren't exactly sure what the levy impact will be there, but we're still working through that. Kind of just key town, administrative updates there. You've got some leadership position salary increases, again, just to make sure that we retain the best talent that the town has and that we can hire the best talent that is available to the town. So, those are some key updates. Other than that, obviously the economy with the situation we're in, we had, some inflationary adjustments to, the budget. So some of the increases that you guys may see, that would account for some of it. That's kind of the big ticket items in a nutshell there. I don't know if we want to go into more details than that, but, I'll let you guys take it from here.
And I'd mention as part of this opening remarks that for anybody in the public that wants to view the presentation that Corby gave in the work session from the end of September, it's available on our YouTube channel, or you can go online and is the
Yes.
slideshow available for download?
If you go to our website and then you click on the tabs for government and then you go down to town budget and finances.
Perfect.
Actually, I take that back. If you go to the home page, I believe it's a green tab on the left side of your
Okay.
screen that's 2023 budget, and it'll take you to not only the slides, but we've also uploaded Form 3, and we've also included the proposed utility budgets as well. Those are,
Beautiful.
the public can find those.
So yeah, you can download those at your leisure to review them. All the information is there that we went over.
The blue tab.
Blue.
We'll have the reading of
I thought
ordinance.
water was blue tab.
Reading of ordinance 1432 by its title, please, Mr. Sharp.
Ordinance number 1432, be it ordained by the Cedar Lake Town Council that for the expenses of Cedar Lake Civil Town for the year ending December 31, 2023, the sums herein specified are hereby appropriated and ordered set apart out of the several funds herein named, and for the purposes herein specified, subject to the laws governing the same. Such sums herein appropriated shall be held to include all expenditures authorized to be made during the year, unless otherwise expressly stipulated and provided for by law. In addition, the purposes of raising revenue to meet necessary expenses of Cedar Lake Civil Town, the property tax levies and the property tax rates, as herein specified, are included herein. Budget Form B for all funds must be completed and submitted in the manner prescribed by the Department of Local Government Finance. The ordinance shall be in full force and effect from and after its passage and approval by the Cedar Lake Town Council.
Thank you. Ms. Sandberg, would you give the bottom line on the adopted budget, levy, and rate, please?
So for the general fund, the adopted budget, $7,854,695. The adopted tax levy, $4,152,275. Adopted tax rate, 0.4866. For the debt service fund, this is the proposed for the public safety facility. $1,500,000 is the adopted budget. Adopted tax levy, $1,500,000. Adopted tax rate, 0.1758. For the lease rental payment, adopted budget is $589,000. Adopted tax levy, $575,000. Adopted tax rate is 0.0674. Excuse me. Police pension, adopted budget is $190,000. No tax levy, no tax rate. Local roads and street fund, adopted budget $250,000, no levy and no tax rate. Motor vehicle highway fund, adopted budget $631,411. Adopted tax levy $94,304. Adopted tax rate 0.0111. Cumulative capital improvement fund, adopted budget $30,000. Adopted tax levy is 0, and adopted tax rate is also 0. Cumulative capital development fund, adopted budget is $407,942. Adopted tax levy, $435,329. Adopted tax rate, 0.0510. Redevelopment general fund, adopted budget $57,000. Adopted tax levy, $61,298. Adopted tax rate, 0.0072. Redevelopment bond, adopted budget, $493,600. Adopted tax levy, $355,000. Adopted tax rate, 0.0416. So for DLGF funds, that brings a total adopted budget of $12,453,900. $3,648. Adopted tax levy total of $7,173,206. Adopted tax rate of 0.8407. And then we also have our home rule funds, which are not reviewed by the DLGF. We have Lake County Solid Waste, adopted budget of $73,035, casino gaming, $50,000, park non-reverting operating, $35,000, law enforcement continuing education, $29,500, CEDAT, $330,855, and Lowell Public Safety, $275,000, for a total of $793,390.
Thank you. You've heard the reading of ordinance 1432, as well as a detailed breakdown of the numbers and levies. Are there any remonstrators for or against?
I wouldn't say we're in monster, I just want to ask a question. Mary Jo Dixon, 8711 West 132nd Place in Cedar Lake. For the, at the meeting, I thought you mentioned the cap was gonna be at 200,000, and I was wondering why the chart that we got, it only came to a $100,000 home, to show what the impact would be. Remember at the meeting I asked him, and he said 200,000 would be the threshold.
It was 125,000 was the max taxable AV. That's based on circuit breakers.
Correct.
So anything above 125,000, there's no additional.
Okay.
So everything's taxed based on that.
Okay, because this only goes to 100,000, that's why, if we can, see if you look at, are you looking at that chart on page?
I'm not.
Okay, well anyways. And the threshold is at 125,000?
That's what I understood it to be at our presentation.
That was the
That's the max.
presentation, yes.
So if you have a more expensive home,
It
that's
doesn't matter.
the max you're gonna pay. So if your house assessed value through the county, 75 grand, it's based off of 75 grand, not the 120.
Well, they talked to another taxing unit in our community, and they're saying it's 200,000. So that's why it's just, does it differ from different taxing agencies, I wonder, but I can ask the state board.
Yeah, I
No,
couldn't
that's
answer
fine.
that one.
And then on the civic,
I didn't know, Corby had muted himself, so I didn't know if he had something to add.
I was just gonna mention that based on the estimates that we have right now, if you have a home value with a gross assessed value of $125,000 or more, right now, based on the numbers we have, we're not estimating that you'll have any property tax impact. So only the homes with $125,000 or less of gross AV will see any sort of property tax increase, and as was displayed, it's minimal. We're talking $30, $40, $50 a year.
And Mary Joan was also saying that she spoke with another taxing unit within our property tax levy that said that the number is 200,000
the threshold.
threshold.
Yeah, again, the assumptions that we have are assuming that every other overlapping taxing unit has the same exact property tax rates as they had in 2022.
Okay.
Now, if the schools did go through some kind of referendum or something,
Yeah, that
you know,
makes
we,
sense.
That makes
we could
sense.
calculate that, but,
Thanks for
right
clearing
now,
it up for me.
Sorry.
And then on the civil levy, once that money's raised for the park department, and that's put in the general fund?
As of right now, that's been the discussion, that the park would
Okay.
just become a department within the general fund.
Okay, and so then it's, when it's in the general fund, can an appropriation be taken, can the park funds be appropriated out of that for other uses?
Technically, you could, like I could do it right now, but you would have to go through the proper processes. You'd have to do an appropriation reduction first, and then you'd have to do the additional appropriation process for whatever other. You'd have to go through the public hearing process like we normally do with the other funds.
They can be done simultaneously.
Yes, they can be done simultaneously, but that's how you list it on your resolution.
And then if we were, and hope to God we don't, we just established the park board and now we dissolve it again, then what happens to that $1 million? Big if, but I'm just asking.
I don't think we've contemplated that because I believe that with the progress that was made, being able to raise $1 million for
Mhm.
parks, I mean, that's unheard of for us. Like, the old budget was what, 160?
234,000.
234? Right, so we're talking about a 5 times increase, and that's happened because of the growth and all the other
I mean, I think
things.
we deserve it, I'm just saying.
Absolutely.
I'm wondering, just, what if?
I think the what if, the greatest,
Let's hope not.
the greatest equalizer is always the electoral process,
Okay.
right? That's the ultimate accountability to the elected officials to do what the public wants them to do.
But we can't spend money out of a park.
Well, we're getting that.
But you're saying if
extension
it's
of
going in the
services.
general fund?
Correct.
Could we,
So
we buy
if it's in the general fund and you decide to dissolve the park board, then does that money go?
I think we'd have to shrink that general fund.
Okay.
I think the easiest way to look at this is that regardless of whether the park funds come out of the general fund or if we establish some other park fund, the town cannot spend any money unless the council members and, you know, the voters, you guys, ultimately pass the budgets to approve those appropriations.
Sure.
So if you are ever concerned about that, we go through this process every year for exactly what you're discussing here.
And I think our budget process is a lot better than it used to be too. I mean, it's a lot more information, it's a lot more information on the revenue in, the money out, and I'm pretty confident that based on historical data, that if, let's say for some reason the Parks Department went away, the first thing would be to shrink that levy, right? If you don't need the $1 million, you're not gonna tax it. That's not something that would be really good public policy, to tax for money you don't need.
Thank you.
Yep. Any other remonstrators? Third call for remonstrators. Anything online, Jen? Thank you. Town council discussion. Floor is open.
I don't have any questions, Mr. Chairman. We had the review a week, or 2 weeks ago with Corby, and all my questions were answered then. Thank you.
Okay. Is there a motion by the council on the first reading of 2023 budget ordinance 1432?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Thank you. Motion by Ms. Sheehan. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Rivera. Discussion on the motion. Roll call.
John Foreman,
Yes.
Julie Rivera.
Yes.
Ralph Miller.
Yes.
Colleen Scheven.
Yes.
Richard Sharp.
Yes.
Randy Niemeyer.
Yes, motion carries 6-0. Next reading will be at the October 18th meeting. Okay, our public comment on agenda items. Second call, public comment on agenda items. Third call for public comment on agenda items. For any of you to have other public comment, at the end of the meeting, we have open public comment. Okay? Consent agenda is the minutes of September 20th, 2022, and September 27th, 2022 meetings, claims, all town funds, $200,989.83, wastewater operating, $94,458.83, water utility, $57,457.18, stormwater, 66 cents, and payroll for 9/29/2022 and 9/30/2022 of $247,123.15. Is there a motion to accept and waive the reading of the minutes and accept the consent agenda as listed?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Foreman, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Sharp, discussion? Roll call.
John Foreman,
Yes.
Julie Rivera.
Yes.
Ralph Miller.
Yes.
Colleen Scheven.
Yes.
Richard Sharp.
Yes.
Randy Niemeyer.
Yes, motion carries 6-0. BZA Plan Commission, item 1 is acceptance of performance letter of credit for Beacon Point West, Unit 6, in the amount of $207,191.88. Is there a motion by the council?
I'll make the motion, Dick.
To accept?
Yes.
Thank you.
I'll
Motion-
second.
Motion by Mr. Miller, second by Ms. Sheehan. Discussion? Roll call.
John Foreman,
Yes.
Julie Rivera.
Yes.
Ralph Miller.
Yes.
Colleen Scheven.
Yes.
Richard Sharp.
Yes.
Randy Niemeyer.
Yes, carries 6-0. Acceptance of performance letter of credit for Beacon Point West, Unit 7, the amount of $446,075.75. Is there a motion by the council to accept?
I'll make a motion to accept.
Thank you. Motion by Mr. Sharp. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Rivera. Questions, discussion? Roll call.
John Foreman,
Yes.
Julie Rivera,
Yes.
Ralph Miller.
Yes.
Colleen Scheven.
Yes.
Richard Sharp.
Yes.
Randy Neemeyer.
Yes, motion carries 6-0. Item 3, acceptance of performance letter of credit extension for Birchwood Farms, Phase 1, extending the expiration date to October 5, 2023, in the amount of $565,070.19. Is there a motion to approve the extension?
I'll make the motion to approve the extension.
Thank you. Motion by Ms. Sheba. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Rivera. Discussion? Roll call.
John Foreman,
Yes.
Julie Rivera,
Yes.
Ralph Miller.
Yes.
Colleen Scheven.
Yes.
Richard Sharp.
Yes.
Randy Neemeyer.
Yes, motion carries 6-0. Item 4 is acceptance of a reduced performance letter of credit for Cedar Lake Storage LLC. Item A is interior private performance letter of credit from $242,741.40 to $113,181.48. And item B, public infrastructure performance letter of credit from $18,854.00 to $7,700.00. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Foreman, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Sharp, discussion. Mr. Salata's question on this, from the public infrastructure standpoint, does that include the installation of that sidewalk that's there? Has the problem with the lip on the sidewalk been resolved?
I believe they're still working through that, and I believe also tines, is that correct? Yeah.
It's not finished just yet, they still need to pave.
Because that's a tough turn in there to go back to the trailer park anyways, and some people have been damaging tires, I know, on that lip there, so. Okay.
Yeah, we'll get on them and at least have them filled in with stone
Yep.
and paved.
Because that'll turn into a giant pothole in the spring if we don't do anything this winter.
No lip about it.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Roll call?
John Foreman,
Yes.
Julie Rivera.
Yes.
Ralph Miller.
Yes.
Colleen Scheven.
Yes.
Richard Sharp.
Yes.
Randy Neemeyer.
Yes, motion carries 6-0. Item 5 is acceptance of performance letter of credit extension and amendment for Rose Garden Estates Unit 1, the amount of $6,067,696.25, extending the expiration date to October 13th, 2023, changing the applicant's name from Lennar Homes of Indiana to Lennar Homes of Indiana, or Lennar Homes of Indiana, Inc., to Lennar Homes of Indiana, LLC, and changing the advising bank from People's Bank SB to People's Bank. Is there a motion to approve?
I will make a motion to approve the acceptance of the performance letter in the amount of $6,067,696.25.
Thank you. Motion by
I'll
Mr.
second.
Foreman, second by Ms. Sheehan. Discussion.
I just wanted to read the
Email
amount again. In honor of Bob.
It's in the record.
Bob, I hope you're feeling well, bud.
Roll call.
John Foreman,
Yes.
Julie Rivera.
Yes.
Ralph Miller.
Yes.
Colleen Scheven.
Yes.
Richard Sharp.
Yes.
Randy Neemeyer.
Yes, motion carries 6-0. New business, item 1, sediment dewatering facility pay, application 2, in the amount of $1,064,886.39. Mr. Salata.
They're getting substantially complete with this project, as this is about half the cost of the project, and it's really something to behold. The police department's doing excellent drone footage shots of the site, and we posted at least one video on YouTube and shared it on our Facebook page about this project, and we'll probably be working on another video to share out showing the continued progress. It's massive.
It's 6,000 foot of pipe. Once it's finished, it will come back to the south end, so it's quite remarkable. 6,000 foot of pipe going there, I should say.
And the company that's doing the actual dredging, they're in the process right now of acquiring some lodging for their employees and the like?
Correct. They'll be signing contracts for housing for their employees. I believe they're also going to be ordering the $400,000 pump that will be used to pump the material. So there's a lot of upfront costs.
And the pre-construction meeting should be happening soon, right?
Yes. I believe you'll have documents to sign after this meeting, and we'll be working with engineer Don Oliphant to get a pre-construction meeting with Dredge America set.
Awesome. Okay, thank you. Any, is there a motion by the council to approve?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, motion made by Mr. Miller, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Sharp, discussion. Roll call.
John Foreman,
Yes.
Julie Rivera,
Yes.
Ralph Miller,
Yes.
Colleen Scheven.
Yes.
Richard Sharp,
Yes.
Randy Neiman.
Yes, motion carries 6-0. Reports, town council. I'll call on Bob, although he's not here, he always gets the floor first.
In lieu of Bob, I'll just say that I did get some correspondence regarding, the, 141st Beacon Point East and the neighbors that are there, the White Coops. I sent it over to Chris, and Chris, communicated with Don, and, we may be seeing an email on that pretty soon, but I think it's a matter between them, it sounds like, from talking to Chris and Don with the embankment. The steepness of that particular embankment meets our code. So now the question becomes, who cut what when?
It's gonna sound like
The
it's.
chicken or the egg?
Sounds like it's gonna be a civil deal.
It sounds like it, so I just wanted to let everybody up here know that Kelly did email me, and I followed up on it and let her know that as well.
Okay, thank you, John. Any other council reports? Colleen, you have something coming up, an event?
Oh, trunk or treat. Yes, we will have trunk or treat here October 22nd from 12 to 2:30.
What are some of the highlights of the upcoming event?
We will have a DJ, hopefully lots of people show up, and there's lots of trunks. And I believe we will be handing out free hot dogs, hamburgers, chips, water and pop like we did last year.
Okay. And it's gonna be about 62 and sunny, right?
If it's rain or shine, there's no,
We'll get that ordinance on the agenda for next meeting.
Yeah, next meeting, let's make sure we get the weather ordinance on there.
Yeah.
There's some people who believe you can legislate the weather. Any other council reports? Town attorney?
No report.
Clerk treasurer?
Council, I'll continue to work with Corby to make sure all the forms are proper in Gateway. That way, after your adoption meeting, I'll be able to submit everything per DLGF requirements. But it's hard to believe that it's October already and the end of the year is fast approaching. So we'll wind everything down and get ready for '23.
Thank you, and to comment on that extension of services budget, I mean, there's no guarantee the DLGF will say yes to all of it.
Yeah,
You know, that's the one thing about this parks budget is it's still gonna be their decision on the levy, whether or not they approve it. They should, based on historical data and the space we had under the cap, but they can do strange things sometimes.
Yeah, ultimately, we're at the mercy of them, so once we submit the budget, I mean, we probably won't get our 1782 notice back until the very end of December, possibly not till next year, depending on how things go with the new debt.
Well, let's hope that it comes back by the end of the year, so we can move forward. Town manager?
Just piggybacking off of that conversation, regarding the parks budget, I'm have created the first draft of the narrative that will explain the need for the parks budget. My undergrad is BA in political science. I like to say I've got a BA in BSing, so I'm hoping that the bureaucrats down in Indianapolis enjoy the narrative that I have, and it's been circulated for accuracy. Been working with Corby on that, so we're going to get that taken care of because, as Mary Jo had said, this town deserves it. With that, our other projects construction projects are starting to wind to an end. I'll leave some for Tim to report on. The road ones are coming to a close. We're going to be doing some striping here soon. So we just, again, ask people for the continual patience with us as we finish out the last little punch list items of those projects.
Thank you. Director of Operations?
Yeah, like, we were saying that, Kiwanis Park is actually getting paved tomorrow. We have the light tower came in the other day for Kiwanis Park, so, that's all graded and ready for asphalt. The sidewalks are poured. Next step is getting the grass planted in the 2 dog park areas. We have electrical lines ran over for the operations of the gate and stuff, so we're not moving along like lightning, but it is progressing steadily, so we're getting closer. We anticipate being able to have that thing operational in the spring, so it's looking good. We got, the Parish Project, mailboxes came in for the Camelot Villas. We're putting 2 gang mailboxes at the exit of that, neighborhood, so we don't have that 2 large rows of misfit mailboxes and 2 lines along there, so, that'll be a huge improvement. They actually came in, and we actually able to do that for a lower price than what was quoted on replacing them all, so it's a good, thing in the right direction.
Smart idea.
So, make it look better. That's all I have.
I've been getting a lot of notices of some chronic pothole areas. One of them being up the hill and back towards Boys and Girls Club, that section of streets. Have we been operating that new total patcher?
Yeah, they actually got it out last week, a few days, and they got that whole area up 129th Lane and all those done, Fulton and, that area, so they've been out and about using it, and it's working good. It is some loose gravel on the road, but it's filling in a lot of those holes.
Do we have a system in place, Tim, where, every so often somebody in Public Works goes and kind of drives every mile of road in this town and kind of takes an inventory of where we're at several times a year to make sure that we're not missing some of these large areas of
Well, we
washout?
do, we are always out and about, we're picking up brush, and the guys are out there every time. We've had a lack, we did have a pretty big lack of total patching, and we did a lot of cold patching and pothole repairs, but throughout the whole last 6 months, we were down 3, 4 people with the turnover of employees. We're finally up to a full group of guys again, but, we did a lot of cold patching. We just started doing total patching again, so they're out there, they know where they are. But a lot of those areas, like that little 129th Lane, that little short
so
stretch
bad.
has been,
It's all washed out, it's just
it's
gone.
been in that condition for the last 10 years, and just like Hobart and Windsor and those couple roads over here off 141st, those roads are, they can patch a pothole and fill it in, but they're
Well,
they're
what we
bad.
do have, so Bob, Rick, and myself are on the street committee. In fact, this particular week, a gentleman by the name of Robert Davidson from up by Lindbergh Street saw that we have a street committee, contacted me. I just sent it to you and Don, just say, hey, is this neighborhood on the street, the future radar? So that's what we do is, so what we do is we try to keep the list of future road projects up to date and add to it, because it's a never ending. When you have no sub-base and nowhere for water to go every year, new roads crack and new potholes emerge.
And to segue off of that, John, that's why I mentioned in that budget meeting, the need to establish, a financial plan that's attached to the asset management plan. So we're not just constantly kind of chasing the project, we're actually planning.
Someday we'll get ahead of it, but
Well, it's just having that plan so we can,
preventative maintenance versus breakdown.
once we get them done, you gotta be able to constantly maintain.
Yeah, you're right on that.
And we did also discuss about doing some milling and resurfacing and just tackling the stormwater, big stormwater problems instead of completely rebuilding some of these areas, so we can get something better than a wagon trail established, so they can move down the lane further till we do all the stormwater improvements, but get them by for the time being.
Yeah, and we could probably do some ditch reestablishment in certain areas where there's not quite the population.
Correct.
You don't have to put in catch basins everywhere.
Right.
Simple. Utilizing ditches the old-fashioned way still works.
Yeah, there's a lot of hills and a lot of ditches that can be reestablished for sure.
Okay. Yeah, I've just been getting a lot of questions about the road maintenance, and we're gonna be patching some potholes, and like 145th, Chris took a drive down there, that culvert's all collapsed in, and half the side of the road is washed out, and it's in pretty bad shape. So, thank you, Tim, appreciate it. Police Department.
Council, the new speed signs that you allow me to purchase are up. We got one in 13300 block of Parish Avenue in front of Jane Ball, and then we have one over here on Morris, which I'm sure you guys have seen. They're recharged by solar, so they can stay up permanently, get some data there. We can move them around from time to time, but they're up and running. Cameras for our squads and, body cam should be in the next month, we're hoping. We did get some final notification, possibly, it's just like anything else in this world, we can't purchase anything yet right now, because it just takes forever, so we're getting that. And I have the FBF, video here, if anybody wants to see it after the council meeting again, you can watch it real quick. The newest one, so they're going up there by recommendation of the town manager. Every Friday, they run the drone on a program that we've designed, and it takes video of all the updated, what it looks like.
Where's the same pad?
Same pad.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. So you can see the update on what it looks like for the project, so it's, we're talking today, it's pretty massive.
Is that your drone or Chief Todd's?
It's ours, yeah. It's the one we got last
Everybody's
year.
got drones around there, huh?
Yeah, well, our drone we use for action reconstruction now, so, the University of Purdue will actually take the upload footage of a serious fatal crash, and take all the footage and then send the rendering back to you in a 3D model or a 2D model if you want, all measured out. And they do that because they're looking for the data for their researching,
Wow.
so they do it
It's
for all-
Purdue University, but.
Yeah, that's what I said.
That university. It's Purdue University. I gotta give you a hard time.
It's not Notre Dame, so it doesn't matter. Just kidding, just kidding. Huh?
I just didn't know if they played football there anymore.
Easy. It's hard to buy
Oh, I'm
players.
sorry. Or I didn't mean that then, one of the roll
Because
tide.
he's got that big A on his shirt. He's paying for it, so it's all right.
Exactly right.
And every time I go down there, it's another $500 at the souvenir shop.
That's it.
With the data that's gathered from the speed signs, is there something that your patrol commander does as a way to maybe target some enforcement areas?
We look at the data, overall average speeds, look at max speeds, because that's what it tells us. And then we will use that to target areas if we need to. A great example, Mr. Sharp had a complaint on his road on 147th Avenue. We put the speed sign up, the neighbors had complained that they were doing 60 plus, and I'm like, wow, that's pretty fast. So we went there, it recorded for 2 weeks, and we only got one vehicle doing 60, but the average speed was about 37 miles an hour. So it's good because...
Through a construction zone.
It's good because visually, people assume that it's going faster than what it is, and sometimes they don't realize what the actual speed posted is. They think it's slower than what it should be, so,
That reminds me, did it get moved to Schneider Street, the speed sign?
not yet. We're still, the guy that moves is on vacation, so.
Oh,
Yeah.
only one guy.
The only one guy.
One guy, yeah.
Is there some special skill set?
He's the one, he's the one that's been doing it, and he knows how to install it pretty quickly.
right screwdriver?
Is that what it is?
He keeps selling his squad
Battery
so,
changer.
yeah.
Just like the commercial.
All right, thank you. Fire department.
I have a few things, if you guys go on our, union site, the Professional Firefighters Association site, we are doing a fundraiser for, the fallen troops. It's a partnership with, the organization that supports our military, and we have, t-shirts, sweatshirts, and long sleeve shirts for sale on there. You can go right through that site, buy it, and all the proceeds go back to the military group that runs us. Number two, our association is having its annual, firefighter appreciation military dinner or luncheon on November 11th. So if you know any, past military, they're more than welcome to come. All the proceeds for that was donated by different organizations in town. The Eagles is going to sponsor it with us. Every single year it gets bigger and bigger. We have guest speakers come in. We also have, we put a nice thick binder together for the veterans. So it has every option out there for help or anything that they need in the region that they can go right in that book, and if they need something, they can look it right up. And it's kind of handy for them. We did that one year, and we didn't do it the second year, and then when these guys came back the third year, they were like, hey, you're gonna get those books out again, so it was kind of a hit. So it's handy for them. And then, on the 15th of October will be our open house and, pancake breakfast, so hope to see all of you there. I'm sorry, 16th, yeah.
I'm on the 15th.
Come on the 15th. Come on the 15th, we're cooking the sausage. 16th, you
We
get
get the old
sausage and
sausage.
bacon.
Yeah.
What the heck?
Yep.
U.S. restaurant.
But fresh sausage, you come on the 15th. On sale sausage, you come on the 16th.
Perfect.
There's no cost, it's just a nice donation would be good. And by the way, I forgot to ask you, can you help us with some milk?
Yeah, I'll get a hold of Bill Lee tomorrow at Pleasant View. And we'll see what they've got.
I appreciate it, forgot to ask you, you always every year you help us out, sorry.
We're gonna have some squad cars there, the UTV there.
What do you want, half pints of chocolate and white?
Yeah,
How many of each? You gotta write this down or I'll forget.
I don't know.
How many people do you usually get?
We get around 200 total.
125 white, 75 chocolate.
Chocolate's more popular.
What world do you live in? Chocolate milk is like the only milk that.
Is that right?
Plus, we have all the 2 to 1, also donated for the actual,
Really?
pancake breakfast as well.
Beyond grateful.
Oh, yeah.
I would have
Two
never
hundred
guessed.
people?
Yeah,
All right, I'll get like 150, no, I'll get 200 chocolate and 100 white.
okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Yeah, wait. That's funny.
Thanks, chief.
Yeah.
Written communication. Anything? Open public comment, now you can, whoever, you guys decide.
Rock, paper, scissors.
Let's wrestle over position at the podium.
Elizabeth Mishinsky Coleman. I live at 13601 Euclid Street, Clear Lake. I had addressed the group about 2 weeks ago. That was the first time most of you heard about my floodplain issue with Beacon Point West. You had asked for 2 weeks to review all the documents. I'm just here tonight looking for an update.
I think most correspondence has been going through Chris, so I would say, Chris, why don't you, I know things have taken place thus far, right?
Yeah, so I've been in communication with Ms. Coleman. As of right now, the engineering firm DVG has not, or the engineer, my main contact at DVG, has not received the elevation shots back from the engineering, or the survey crew that went out there. And unfortunately, he went out on vacation this week. I have talked to both of our town engineers. They're both well aware of it. They're both reaching out to DVG to get that information back. So that is the critical piece of information that we're absolutely waiting for.
So question, Chris, once that information's in hand, and let's say it's favorable information for Beth, what's the process then that is undertaken in order to prevent her mortgage company from going out on her behalf and procuring insurance or beginning proceedings against her if she doesn't procure it on her own?
I would not know that information right now.
Do you know anything about that process, Dave?
Only the administrative appeals to FEMA.
How's that initiated?
By request of someone such as Ms. Coleman or the engineers, mostly the engineers though. It's an engineer's process.
So the engineers would initiate an appeal?
They could. Something's wrong that happened.
And when that appeal is initiated, does that put a pause on the clock from having to procure the flood insurance?
It can if a stay request is made and granted. Again, it's an administrative proceeding. It'll go down the path. It'll go down an administrative review path, actually.
What's your deadline, Beth?
October 15th.
And what sort of information have you received from your bank on what you need to do or what options there are available for you?
I have to have the flood insurance in place by then.
Do you know of providers or what the cost is going to be?
So the verbal estimate I had gotten was between $3,000 and $5,000 a year. They have sent me
Is that paid in one lump sum?
correct, it would be paid the lump sum now and then escrowed for next year. They have sent me a quote that brings it closer to $1,000, but that's subject to change until a policy is actually written. I did try to get a second opinion, like a second quote on the insurance.
Because our biggest enemy, by the way, it sounds here, is time.
Correct. And
And-
because literally if it's $5,000, I have to move. Do you get, even 1,000? And then I guess that's part of my question too, like I know we're waiting on the engineering report. Once we get that, what does that mean, but then what do I do with the insurance though? And, you know, I know you'd mentioned that Schilling has watched the video. Has there been any correspondence, like, what's being done to resolve this?
Have you had any correspondence with Jack on,
I've not had specific correspondence with Jack on this item, given that we're going out with DVG to get the surveys.
typically, Beth, nobody wants to volunteer to do anything. Like, nobody's gonna volunteer to pay your bill, I'm just being honest, right? I mean, that's just the harsh reality of this. Schillings aren't gonna voluntarily do this, because then every time there's a slight little change to somebody's property, they'll be doing it in every one of their developments. So they're not gonna volunteer. This is gonna come down to actual data
In
and the process.
Schilling's defense, I will say they are paying DVG to do the survey work because they watched this meeting, but I have not been in direct correspondence, I've only been corresponding with DVG directly.
Yeah, and I'm not being harsh towards Schillings or anybody, it's just it's a matter of fact that nobody volunteers to pay the bill. It's like they have to be forced to through process. And it stinks, it's not the answer that you need to hear or want to hear, but it's kind of the truth of how some of these government processes work, unfortunately. Government is terrible. It's part of the reason I run for office, because I hate it. Like, I think the way that self-government works sometimes is ridiculous. These floodplain maps, it's like sometimes people pull this stuff out of the rear end and all of a sudden somebody's got to pay the bill. And what's the insurance for anyways? Right, it's to insure the mortgage company, not even to insure you. So it's insuring the bank. But this is to protect the bank's interest more than anything, not yours. Because if your house got flooded, whether you had the insurance or not, by rain, they're not gonna cover anything anyways. Like, it'd have to be a tornado or something that caused the damage, if it was water damage, for it to be covered. If you-
Without a flood insurance policy, yes.
Right. So this really protects your bank more than anything.
It doesn't matter if I agree or disagree, like, I came here 2 weeks ago to ask for help.
Well, the town can't necessarily offer financial help to you.
I'm not asking for financial help, I was asking for you guys to advocate on my behalf.
And I think that's happening. It's just.
Yeah, it is.
Wheels
Wheels
are turning way too slow for everybody.
Our normal turnaround for survey work that we request is minimum 4 to 6 weeks, pushing 6 weeks to 8 weeks, depending on the firms you're using.
Is there service at the township level or health?
I don't know what kind of assistance there is out there for this. Kevin Toth would be the guy to talk to at Hanover Township.
Yeah, I mean, just to see, they're very good over there at directing people and trying to help. I know for a fact if you can't pay rent and things, there's assistance out there. So maybe just to hold you by while we're trying to get a resolution.
Have you spoke with Kevin at all, the Hanover Township trustee?
I have not, no.
Okay. He's on a fishing trip right now, but can I put you in touch with him?
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay.
So I guess really, the next steps are, I wait.
Well, that's all we can give you right now, because we have no other data. Like, you've been updated with the most recent correspondence that we have, so
And has anybody from the town contacted Schilling?
Chris has been in contact with him.
Just that you know that he watched, you've not spoken to anyone?
That's the length of my knowledge, yes.
Okay,
But-
you've not spoken to anyone there?
No.
Okay, so no one's contacted Schilling?
What should we be asking Schilling to do, other than they're paying for the survey right now, which is something they stepped up and volunteered to do? But until that survey information's in, there's really nothing to ask.
There's nothing we can.
Like, there's just nothing to ask until the data's in.
I guess I just was hoping that someone would help take up my cause and at least talk to them to see if something could be done. I appreciate everything you've done, You know, you've been great to work with, you've been very communicative, and I appreciate that.
I can tell you on your behalf, I spoke to our town engineer. He told me that he spoke to the engineers that are hired by Schilling. So indirectly, we have through our engineering firm. But I personally have not, Chris has not personally answered your questions.
I will
We
give,
haven't, but
I will give Frank Schilling a call tomorrow, talk to him about the situation. I don't know what I'm gonna get out of that, because they're gonna lean on their engineers and lawyers in these sorts of situations. But I can call Frank and talk to him and see what he thinks.
Well, I'm just hopeful that if they lean on the surveyor, that company, it can get done sooner.
I hope so too.
survey,
They already have.
it's complete. Survey's complete.
They've done the
Well,
survey,
they've
but,
already leaned on their engineering firm, that is DVG. That's who they use.
have they shot the survey yet or no?
It's my understanding that they shot it, but again, the engineer that would be reviewing that information is on vacation. We are trying to get, I've emailed him, Don Oliphant, our engineer, has emailed him. We're trying to get the information back. As I stated, usually these take a lot longer to get back. And they are aware of the situation and the need for expediency. That's what has been expressed to me from the engineering firm that will be doing.
I'll follow up with Frank Schilling tomorrow.
And maybe can
I'll
you
give him
put
a
her in
call.
touch with, Kevin?
Yeah, if you
He's going to.
Oh,
He's-
Toby.
Kevin Toth, okay, I thought you meant their attorney, Kevin Hunt.
I don't.
Yeah, I'll see if I can make that connection with you and Kevin Toth as well at the township to see what kind of
If there's something.
possible assistance there is out there to get you by. I don't know. But I'll reach out to Frank. I'm gonna send myself a message right now. Dear Reed.
So in
I have to
regards
text
to the
myself.
insurance bill, then, just hope for the best with the trustee, with the township.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping they can come up with some sort of assistance. Unfortunately, it's not, we don't have a fund for something like this.
No, I
We can't do
understand.
it. I mean, we're just trying to get a resolution to see where the problem is caused, so hopefully somebody, as soon as possible, it's probably not gonna be by October 15th is the problem. So I'm hoping maybe we can find some assistance out there at the county level or somewhere.
Would your insurance allow you to pay it quarterly?
No, I have to pay it in full upfront for the first
And
year.
it's $5,000?
Well, that's what I said, I've gotten a lower quote at closer to 1,000, but it's
Where did you get
Subject-
a quote from? I have an insurance guy on a fire.
State Farm.
Have you
But
looked through the government, like the government-sponsored?
That's
flood
what they
insurance?
did, they got it through FEMA, through
Okay,
NFIP.
gotcha.
Can you, see me after the meeting? I'll give you his information. He's helped quite a few people in bad spots before.
Yeah, that would be
Briggs
great.
Insurance out of Crown Point.
Yeah, we've had this situation back in 2012 when the new flood maps were adopted back then. There was a lot of houses that were sucked up into that. It was pretty bad. I mean, it was like a surprise to a lot of folks, and people have gotten through it somehow, and I don't know how, you know, but I'll do my due diligence with Mr. Schilling, and we'll talk about it a little bit and see what his thoughts are, and do the best we can.
I would appreciate that.
Yep,
All right, thank you.
thanks, Beth.
Bob Van Ramshurst, 14507 Lakeshore Drive. I don't know this woman, but what we're talking about here is tragic. Somebody comes in, a builder Schilling, comes in and moves hundreds of thousands of pounds of dirt, and her house that was existing by this subdivision that we've allowed becomes a floodplain. That's not just, how do we take care of your $4,000 bill this year? That house is stamped forever.
No, we know.
Forever.
It's more about a model though, sir, in all sincerity.
It should be
The
about
model-
Schilling buying that house from her.
Yeah, it's,
Should be easy.
the old flood maps from eons ago
For 2012.
were never really modeled until recently, so that's where it appeared.
You've seen how that has all changed over there, the terrain.
Yeah.
We know what happened, guys. That the
It's
map.
actually gotten better. Believe it or not, that whole southwest portion of that
I hope you're
neighborhood
right.
was Mindy houses were in the non-modeled floodplain.
There was,
So in 2012, I think FEMA created a new,
well, it was at the back end of the Utopia, the Army Corps of Engineers Utopia project, because when I first moved into Utopia, where Beth lives, actually, when we'd have heavy rain, you'd have fish swimming there, like literally, down that road.
All the way.
Yeah, I remember too, you lived in the neighborhood.
I worked on the street department, we blocked that road
It
out
was
every
crazy,
time.
yeah.
It was a.
And then there was a Army Corps project done around 2010, 2011, that changed the whole scope of drainage in that area. The flood maps were updated in 2012 without the modeling of the new outflow into what's called Sleepy Hollow Ditch that runs at the south end of Utopia. And this latest flood map update happened when the new development went in.
So in 2012, it wasn't a floodplain,
Not
when they redid the maps.
Correct.
Now that we put the new subdivision in, it is a floodplain.
Well, and that's the question that we've asked to get some answers on, is why did that happen?
I think there were like 8 houses that were in the floodplain, and now hers is the only one, I think.
There used to be a lot
And
more.
the dilemma there is,
But
how
to
can
answer
you
your
have
question-
somebody who wasn't now be in it when, early on?
We're doing, from a procedural standpoint, as much as what can be done procedurally within the confines of law as it relates to flood map, because some of that stuff, once the model's done.
Once it's done, you don't change it.
Well, you can change it, but there has to be data to change it.
And you've got the data, you see exactly where
But we don't have the new data of some new elevation shot to determine whether or not a thing called a LOMA can be obtained that would mitigate the need for that flood insurance.
when I hear this, my heart goes out for her.
Absolutely.
That's not a temporary, let's put a bandage on. This
We
house
all
could
feel the
be,
same way.
Everybody here feels the exact same way.
I'm glad.
No, nobody here is happy with this
Yeah, it's-
situation.
Not a good thing.
Ma'am?
Yes, that's me. My name is Alice Downey, 14608 Lee Street. I'm talking to you guys tonight about the safety on South Lake Shore Drive. Safety for pedestrians, cars, fences, et cetera. Before the road was done, we had a bunch of no parking signs along our subdivision fence, for our park. Every so many feet, no parking, no parking, no parking. There are none. Well, there's one, and it's really rusty. It came out, I don't know where it came from, but they never went back up. One night, a month ago perhaps, Bugaboos had a large gathering celebration. They have a new patio, and they had a band there, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, more people that they could handle. And there were about 20 cars parked along our subdivision fence. People in the ditch, partially on the road, right in front of the one no parking sign that was there, in front of the access gate. So I want to make sure that, I want to let you guys know that it's very unsafe for pedestrians, people even parking there. Even if you said it's okay for them to park there.
It's not.
But if you said, well, we can't do anything about it, people get out of their cars, it's just.
Right, there's not enough room there for parked
Not
cars,
enough.
and you can't see.
Mr. President, can I answer this question?
You're the traffic guy, Chief.
I'm not actually, Mr.
Tim.
Kubiak is, that was taken from the chief's spot, but we're working on that. We actually talked about it this morning, I brought it up in our
You wanna
department
take it
meeting.
back?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
We're gonna try to get them signs put back up, for no parking. We actually discussed it this morning in the department head meeting. I totally agree with you. There should be absolutely no parking on that road, period.
Correct.
There's drainage on both sides. It's not meant for parking on the side of the road.
It's a thoroughfare street, not a residential street.
So we will correct that as soon as possible. I'll have to get with Tim and make sure we get the signage and put it up.
I'm up to that. I think the other question that you had brought up to me a while ago, and
I'm getting to that.
was a crosswalk.
Right. The other thing I wanted to bring up, safety-wise, is having, like, so many other business, well, we're not business really, but so many other areas that have crosswalks from one side to the next, where it says caution, pedestrian crossing, stop for the pedestrians, whatever the case might be. You know, and Bugaboos has it, I know they have a new sign that says, be prepared to stop. Don't know who put that one up. Because it is dangerous at Bugaboos, but it's also dangerous on our streets. People come back down there pretty fast. Around the corner from the new house, you know, where it goes from 140.
Golf course, like.
Yeah, the golf course as it comes through, people fly around that corner. So, on Lee Street and Dewey Street, if we could get a crosswalk,
I think one of the issues there is there's really no sidewalks to kind of direct people to cross from.
Well, but we have one over there by Garyville, and it's really not going to necessarily sidewalk
Just
either,
two
it's just
parking
for
lots.
crossing.
Yeah, parking lots.
Right, it's just for crossing, so all we're looking for is where our two gates are to our park, that
Right.
everybody goes back and forth, just like a crosswalk with the sign, so people know that there's a lot.
maybe from the left side
There's
of
a
the
lot of
street or the
traffic
right
going
side.
across
There's just a
there.
lot of traffic.
There is, there's all sorts of people all day long going back and forth there.
So, was there anything else? I think that was it.
I think that was,
The
that's
no
all I
parking
have.
and the pedestrian caution.
We'll take care of the no parking stuff.
That's a heck of a busy area down there, and really Don needs a lot more parking.
He
Well,
does.
that's-
Figure it for him.
He needs to like buy a
You should have bought
couple
that house.
houses
Well,
or
he wants
something.
to, he can't, nobody will sell to him.
Yeah.
He's trying. If
Yeah.
anything comes up, he will.
He definitely needs parking,
He
because
wants
that place is on overflow all the time.
It is.
It shouldn't be.
So even
It
worst
is.
case, because Don has a crosswalk and, I mean, Dewey doesn't have the through streets, so it'd be nice to have one down there. But worst case, if we could just get one at the main gate.
I think one, like, maybe that'd be the best idea, don't you think?
But see, if you put one on Lee, so people access the park through Dewey and Lee. If you only put it on Lee, the people on Dewey then will have to walk along the streets, which
Well,
is
or
not
they
safe.
could go to the
But you can't
back.
have a crosswalk every 10 feet.
They could go,
Well, it wouldn't be that way.
they could go to the back street and come back down.
There's gotta be like a filtering,
Yeah.
a kind of funneling
Or
point.
on a golf cart, either way, they can just go, they'll just have to
Yeah.
have a longer.
It's a little bit
I mean,
longer.
I'm not,
Because I feel
You guys will make the
Bugaboos has a
decision, so-
crosswalk, and we can't have it, like, I agree, not that many close together, but if we have one at Lee where the main gate is.
Yeah, that main gate's been there for,
well, those two gates have been there forever.
Right, but I
The
think the
two
main
gates have
gate
been
is
there
really
forever.
where we need a crosswalk.
I just
myself.
think people don't take it slow enough through there.
Oh, they don't.
And after they, you know, they go flying out of Bugaboos, you know.
Part of it's Rick too, with his 60-mile-an-hour speeding. Right here, this guy.
Oh, is that the area that the?
That's where he speeds.
So,
He would
So,
just
I mean,
slow
if
down
that's
and
not, Ken, is that something we can do? Can we get a crosswalk over there at Lee and the main gate?
Yeah, I mean, a crosswalk's about $5,000 for the striping, the signage, and everything that needs to be done.
Well, didn't, a couple of the businesses, we did a 50/50
On
split.
lease, we did a 50/50
And-
split.
and Eagles?
I believe his half, yeah, I think it was,
Yeah, he,
Well, we're not really a
it was
business.
expensive.
it was expensive. The thermoplastic striping, you have to have the crosswalk ahead sign, you have to have the stop.
Right,
There's
but I mean,
a lot
we're
of
not a
signage.
business, we don't generate money from it.
yeah, but all the
Oh, I know,
it's
signage,
a
all the
safety
signage
issue.
that goes up is required by law.
No, I
You put a
understand.
crosswalk.
Somebody's
But I'm
gotta
just saying-
give me that money to pay for it, I don't care if you guys give it, or I don't care, but that's, I'm just saying that it's about $5,000 to do it, so.
Okay.
I can't call the people and have them put it up.
Jen, is there somewhere that can come from?
At this point in the budget, not for this year.
Next year. I mean, winter's coming for next year, will we be able to,
We'd have,
We'll look at a good spot and try to come up with a plan, see where would be a good place for.
We'll look into it, Alice. I think that's the best thing to do.
And I'll
At
talk
least
to
the no
Don
parking
about
signs
it.
are going up.
All right, well,
I
that's
think
a
it's
start,
a great idea.
for sure. Thank you.
The traffic is just getting crazy now.
We have no east-west roads, right? None. Around the lake you go. Whether you like it or not.
Dixon, 8711 West 132nd Place. I was hoping to hear something about the Summerfest contracts.
Chris, I believe I sent you an email saying it's gonna be on the next agenda.
Thank you. I was a little busy this weekend, maybe I didn't check my email.
Totally understandable, I know that feeling.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mary Jo. Coming up for round two, sir?
Do I have to restate my name again?
We already forgot. Go ahead.
Hey, just to tag along with the subdivision, walkway, that's 80 houses that go through there. The other thing is, it's the one spot where everybody's looking at the lake,
Yeah.
and everybody's looking over there, and I don't blame them, I am too. And you look over there, and there's people here, and it just gives them reference that there's people going over there. There's only a few spots around the lake where you see water, and see sunsets, and my eyes are gonna go there. They're not gonna go to people over here crossing.
You bring up a good point. When I was coming to the meeting tonight, the park over, Bartlett Wahlberg, a ton of people were there, the sun was setting across the lake, it was beautiful. And I have to say, I was staring at it the whole way, not looking where I should have been.
I do the same thing.
Is that right? Hold on a second, John, what time was that again?
Will you sit in the parking lot?
Yeah, we might have to, right.
We aren't doing this because it's gonna look nice, or it's gonna be something that's gonna benefit any of us. This is truly a safety issue.
No, absolutely, we understand.
Thank you, sir.
And Baba Boost did put the warning prepared.
Yeah, I think they put all those signs out.
That was some kind of canvas one or.
Right, he purchased it and put it up there himself.
He prepared his stuff.
And really, we have started a project to, believe it or not, it's $3.5 million project to bring sidewalks from the roundabout to the east side Dairy Queen, all on the north side of the road. But we're
It's the roundabout all the
trying
way
to get
here.
this here, all the way here, I'm sorry.
$3 million
As
project.
insane as it sounds, but we're trying our hardest to come up with a way to make a pedestrian path around the entire lake, to make it encouraging and fun and safe for,
Well, we have more and more people
Challenging.
are,
I'll give you my
we're busting, and
Yeah.
there are more and more people, they want to be at the lake, they want to see it. They should only be going 15 miles an hour around the lake, 20 miles per max.
But as John said,
that's true.
the first section of sidewalk to make that pedestrian conveyance a dream is $3 million. Right, I mean, and if you start to pace that around the lake, you're looking at a $15 million project. So it's a matter of a piece at a time. As funding becomes available, you build another piece. It's not a quick resolution. And even if you do something what could be engineered as a pedestrian path that could be biking and walking, you're still gonna have acquisition, right-of-way acquisition, engineering costs. Even if you did an asphalt path, it's still gotta meet certain ADA standards. You're still looking at a project that's gonna be a couple $2 million. So those are things that, while people say, why don't they put a path all the way around the lake? Well, unless somebody drops the bag of money in the lap here, there's only so much you can tax people, so we still have the tax caps to deal with it. So, appreciate the comments. Any other public comment? Jen, anything online?
No hands are raised.
Okay, well, I appreciate everybody attending tonight. Our next council meeting is Tuesday, October 18th at 7 p.m. will be preceded at 6:30 p.m. by a utility board meeting. This meeting is adjourned.